Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 24th Town of Monroe Board Meeting. We have a long agenda tonight, which is good. So we're going to try to move things along as quickly as possible. Can I get a motion to open tonight's meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Who will second?
Call the question.
Hingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Okay, community announcements. Item 3.1, 2025 tax collector's notice.
So we are winding down the month of February. February incurred a 1% penalty. So you want to be sure if you're making your tax payment to get it in either to the tax collector's office or postmarked by the post office no later than February 28th. After that date, it will go into March, which has a 2% penalty on it and a $2 second notice fee. The last day for collection is March 28th. After that date, all payments will go up to the county. We will have extended hours in March until 5 p.m. for anyone that needed to come a little bit later to make that payment. Just please, again, make sure that your payments are postmarked no later than either February 28th or March 31st. And currently, we are 85% collected.
Great, thank you, Madam Clerk and Tax Collector. Great job. Well, you might as well take over 3.2 as well.
Monroe Connect, yes. So we've been talking about this for a while. Just wanted to give residents the opportunity to hear about it if you haven't already. Monroe Connect is a new communication app that we are using. You can scan our QR code. There's also some flyers in the main lobby. It will notify you of emergency notices, road closures, water main breaks, upcoming events, food truck festival, clean sweep. You could also access the website and other pages on the town website through that app as well. So if you haven't already, please download Monroe Connect.
Okay, thank you. Item 3.3 is the Orange County Mobile DMV, which will be here tomorrow, February 25th. 10 to 12 p.m. and then 1 to 3:30 p.m. They break for lunch from 12 to 1. You can do all registration transactions, all license transactions, including real and enhanced, and in any enforcement transactions. Thanks again to Kelly Eskew for assisting us with that. Item 3.4 is the free movie night for veterans. Orange County Executive Steve Newhouse, along with Veterans Service Agency Director Christian Farrell, have teamed up with us in Monroe, and there's going to be 2 free shows of Marvel's Captain America, Brave New World, and that's on Wednesday, March 5th, 1 o'clock and 6 o'clock at Flagship Premium Cinemas in Monroe. Each veteran can bring 1 guest and receive a complimentary popcorn and a drink. You have to call 845-291-2470 to reserve your spots. Dial-A-Ride, item 3.5. Dial-A-Ride is starting January 13th, extended services. They're going to be taking reservations as early as 6 a.m., and they'll be out. Last available reservation is 6 p.m. From any location in our service area, including the Harriman train station, if it's available, if there's a spot available. We have also started a new loop that goes from over by ShopRite into Smith Farm, and then over into Winchester, and then over to Bakertown Road. So that's supposed to start March 10th. One other note, tonight, Brian Uge is not here. Matt Toll will be our attorney this evening. He's working with Brian's firm. And he's another fine attorney. 2025 Clean Sweep. I need a resolution approving the quote from Upcycle for the electronic recycling on April 26th. I'll make that motion. The total amount is $750 for Upcycle's recycling. And Madam Clerk, that includes electronics.
Not from Upcycle.
What is upcycle?
Upcycle is recycling, not shredding.
Paper.
Paper.
Oh.
What's that?
Upcycle is the electronic recycling.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Right.
Electronics.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
yep,
I just so we're on the same page.
okay.
She thought she was getting a new TV, you know?
All right. So, yeah, that's going to be August 26th. More information on that to follow. Yeah, April 26th, Saturday. You want to talk about the job fair?
Did you want to call to question?
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
sorry. Who seconded it?
Sal.
Call a question.
Hingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Full aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Item 3.7 is Monroe Bay High School Job Fair.
Okay,
Councilman
so
Scancarello.
that's, Thursday, April 10th at the high school from 5 to 8 p.m. This will be the third year in a row we do it. We have employed over 100 kids in the first 2 years we've done it. It's a great opportunity for students to come out and get their first jobs. There'll probably be close to 50 businesses. So 5 to 8 p.m. at the high school on April 10th, come down and support that.
Great, thank you. Thanks for helping set that up. There's going to be a free community concert at the Presbyterian Church in Monroe. You want to take care of that one?
Sure.
Councilwoman
On
Toole?
Saturday, March 8th at 7 p.m., Alexandra Trosper is going to perform. She'll sing songs from Broadway's Golden Age, arias from the great operas, and some music from not so long ago in an evening of song and celebration. And it's completely free. It's sponsored by the First Presbyterian Church of Monroe, right here on Stage Road. If you want any more information, is this on the website, Val? Yes, okay, so if you want any more information, you can go to the town's website, or you can visit FPC Monroe, First Presbyterian Church, Monroe.org.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 3.9, so last meeting, Rhonda Avlar had questioned the fact that two hydrants on the right side of Rye Hill Road going south, one of them had a bag over it and the other one was low into the ground. I made the assumption, Pat wasn't here, I made the assumption that those were for Briarcliff, and obviously my assumption was wrong. They are actually flush hydrants for Water District Number 1. So I know that you used them last year, the one of them. I couldn't find the other one, so you want to just expand on that a little?
The one was, John took care of the one up higher that was buried down in the ground. He took care of that last year.
Okay.
And the other one was hit by a truck, and we had to wait for parts for it. That's the reason why it was bagged.
Okay.
We were on it immediately, and everybody has to realize those hydrants are only for flushing. They're not for fire protection.
Right.
Which I think that was a big confusion with everybody. The fire department, the fire district has tankers, and they also have a tanker task force that gets called up when there is something in our districts without hydrants. And they are very experienced on what they do with that.
And they're well aware where there is and is not water.
Yes, there is maps. The
Yeah.
chiefs all have them, and they're all mapped out for them.
Okay. All right, thank you, Pat.
Excuse me, they usually go out to a call with some reserves anyway, I assume, right, on the truck?
Yes,
Yeah.
most of the trucks there are pumper tankers. If not, they are
Yeah.
tankers.
I called Will to apologize because it came through the village, what I had mentioned, so my apologies to everyone. Before we get into the public hearing, so Pat and I were down at Association of Towns last week in New York City. It was another great conference, a lot of networking. Everybody from the county that is leading a municipality or is on the town board or village board in some cases at those municipalities were there. I had taken 6 classes, and everything from PFAS to water protection and AI, took an AI class. And it's well worth it. We had, I think, over 80 people from the county there. and all walks of life, county workers, municipal leaders. There were some town clerks there. It's not an extensive town clerk type conference. I think I only saw 3 classes there. One was actually dangerous dogs, but I couldn't go to that because there was something that was a little more important in that time frame. I wanted to go to it, but yeah, it's a great way to talk to other members in municipalities, work on things. I had multiple conversations with leaders, one concerning an IMA, the other concerning something that we're trying to do with the county with respect to Moodna, which Mary is aware of. So anybody have any questions, reach out to me, and I'll let you know what I know and what I learned.
Supervisor? So also, while we were down there, we did find a resource to get LED light bulbs for most of the highway garage for nothing or next to nothing for each bulb, including the salt shed. And in our mechanic shop, every fluorescent tube will be replaced with LEDs. We'll be getting rid of those gas halogen bulbs that take a long time to come on. And that's the reason why most of the time those lights are left on in the salt shed, because people can't see when they go in there. It takes so long in the cold. These LEDs will come on, and we're going to put them on a sensor is what we're going to do to be able to save a lot of electricity there.
And that gentleman hawked me down, I think the same day as you.
Yeah.
And I took the flyer, and we're able to do something here. I passed it along to John, and he'll take a look. Thank you. Okay, item 4.1, I'll make a motion to open the continuation of the reopening of the public hearing regarding local law H-V2 of 2022 to amend Chapter 57 zoning concerning the regulations governing tree preservation.
Poole, second.
Call the question.
Hingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Okay, so moved. Anybody sign up to speak, Madam Clerk?
Dennis Fordham, if there's anything to discuss.
Come on up, Dennis.
Is this on?
Yep.
Yes, it is on. We had a good meeting on, what was it, February the 5th. We're now still waiting for a revised tree law from Max Stack. Yes, we're still waiting.
We are waiting. He's almost done.
Okay.
Based on the conversations we had.
Yes.
I mean, I would say we'd have it by next Monday, which is our next meeting, March 3rd. So we can hold off, leave it open until Monday, close it, and then hopefully adopt it, yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't it still have to be open for public hearing and be published?
Not necessarily.
That's your call.
Yeah.
I think it has, ask Brian, but I think
Speak in the mic, please.
the semi-finalized, or the version that we're about to finalize, has to be published for a certain amount of time before it actually is finalized. Is that correct?
So I can check with
Yeah.
Brian, but I believe that would be correct.
So just, it's a good idea to
Until
hold
Monday,
off
get it
till
back.
Monday, but we'll get that advice also by Monday, just so that we adhere to open meetings law and give everybody a chance to weigh in on the potentially final version.
Yeah. Just one thought on the final version. When you go onto your website and look for the attached documents against it's very difficult to see what is the latest documents. Even when you open the draft tree code, there's no date on it. So
What?
it's no date on the version that's there now.
Talk into the mic.
I'm sorry,
Thank
the version of the tree code that's on the website now, there is no date on it. So and there's more than one version there. So what I would suggest is when the new version comes out, it at least has a footer with a date on it, something like that. Okay?
There's a lot of notes that we've been.
There's a lot of
this is the longest attachments that I
There's
have
a
in my
lot
board
of
doc.
documents there and other versions of the tree law.
So
Yeah.
marking the date and that this is the proposed finalized version and publishing it, I think, according to the open meetings guidelines.
Okay.
We'll get that all from the
Okay.
clerk and the attorney.
So Dennis, if I may just interrupt, all the attachments for the most part that are on board docs regarding this, which are on the website. That first transmittal tree law, 250114, is January 14th of '25. So as those come in, those are getting posted.
Yeah, but there is an earlier version there which has no date, and when you open the document, there's no date on the document. There should be a version date. I would
Well, as
think
far as the
any
document, that I can't
Yeah,
control.
yeah,
I can
yeah.
control how it gets posted and titled.
Okay,
So I think your concern is that when we do get a new version from Max, that it has a date on it saying revised on.
just make sure that everyone's looking at the latest version.
Yes.
That's all I would say. Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
That's all
Thanks,
for public
Dennis.
comment.
Thank you.
So motion to,
Okay,
we need a motion.
I got it. I'm running the
I'm
meeting.
also capable of making the motion to continue, which I will do. Thank you. I've made the motion to continue the public hearing until Monday, what is it, March?
Are you capable? You got it.
Yeah, I'm going to open my calendar. You don't want to help me out? Calendar, well,
It's March 3rd.
thank you. Till Monday, March 3rd.
At 7 PM or immediately thereafter.
Thank you. Second it.
Bingham will second.
Call the question?
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye?
Cool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Okay. Next item, I'll make a motion to open the continuation of the public hearing in relation to the increase and improvement of facilities of Water District Number 14. I'll make that motion.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye?
Cool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
No public comment.
No public comment? Councilwoman Bingham?
Well, we were supposed to have a meeting with Sean tomorrow, but it's going to be, I believe, moved to Thursday. So I haven't received any new information, and I'm assuming we might have to update the IUP on this. I would like to verify that with Sean Arnott, and I would like to keep the public hearing open probably until probably April 7th. That would give us enough time to discuss it with the engineer. So I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing.
Wait.
Oops.
Before you do, one other addition. So we have a grant that is hoping to come, we're going to get an answer in the next couple of weeks for Water District 14 improvements. That's a $1.301 million grant that we've applied for. So WIA grant.
So should we make it until the end of April? Give us just a few more?
Yeah, just to be sure. I think if we went to the 21st, we'd be better off.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing until April 21st at 7 PM or as soon as possible thereafter.
Second, call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye?
Cool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Acceptance of the February 3rd, 2025 minutes. Everybody had a chance to read them? I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any changes, alterations, corrections?
No, Val posted a updated one this afternoon, and that was fine.
Okay. Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Cool, aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moved. Item 6.1 is a general fund abstract. I'll make a motion, be it resolved, Town Board of Town of Monroe requests approval of abstract 25-4, general fund containing check numbers 36350 through 36459 for $4,444,495.89. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Question?
Sure.
I just had that email earlier this afternoon to you. I still don't understand why we have to pay property taxes on some of those parcels that the town owns.
Well, if you look at Section 406 of the New York State law and the Assessors Code, just because you own a piece of land doesn't mean it's exempt. There has to be a use for it, and the public has to not just have access, but there has to be something there that they're accessing. And I think you should talk to our assessor, Royce, tomorrow, and and
Sure.
he'll explain it a little more. Just so you know, all those properties are not assessed at full value.
Good, because we,
Yeah. Call the question?
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye?
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Item 6.2 is the escrow fund. I'll make a motion, be it resolved that the Town Board of Town of Monroe requests approval of abstract 25-3 escrow fund containing checks 2196 through 2200 totaling $18,904.95.
Poole will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye?
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Item 7.1 are budget transfers. Be it resolved that the Town Board of Town of Monroe approves budget transfer abstract 2024-24 totaling $235,525.59 for a 2024 expenditure adjustment to pay for the encumbered balance of a 2025 dump truck and rack truck. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye?
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Item 8.1 is a cash transfer abstract. I'll make a motion, be it resolved, Town Board of Town of Monroe requests approval of abstract 2025-01 cash transfer from the Town of Monroe Town Clerk account ending in 0739 to the Town of Monroe Tax Collector account ending in 0747 in the amount of $62,023.67. It was money that was deposited into the wrong account.
Poole will
Bingham,
second.
Bingham seconded.
Biggins.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, item 9.1 is a short-term rental for 106 Osseo Park Road. Camille, did you want to speak? Okay, all right, that's fine. So I know it's been a long process for you. Everything has essentially cleared the building inspector's office. I wanted Matt to read the 5 points that applied, all of which you passed.
So I'm reading from section 40-8, procedure for first permit issuance. Subsection F, in determining whether to authorize the permit, the town board shall consider the information in the application, the testimony of the building inspector, the testimony of the application, and the testimony of any objecting neighbors and the applicant, and shall authorize the permit where it finds the following standards are met. 1, adequate parking facilities are provided to meet the parking requirement of 4 off-street parking spaces, which are provided in a manner that does not impact the residential character of the neighborhood. 2, if new construction or expansion is proposed, the size of the structure proposed for this use is generally consistent with residences located within 500 feet, or it is so situated to not be seen as inconsistent with the appearance of other area residences as viewed from any public street or public park. 3, the structure and lot are conforming to the requirements of this chapter or have received variances for any nonconformances, and the lot and structure are not considered existing nonconforming uses or buildings. 4, adjoining residences and their yards are generally afforded a reasonable degree of privacy from view by occupants of the proposed vacation residence or partial vacation residence by the imposition of landscaping and privacy fencing. And 5, the number of permitted short-term rentals surrounding the proposed property are not excessive in number so as to result in adverse character impacts to principal residences in the neighborhood.
The only adverse character impact I see is when you look down on this house, it looks like a gumball machine. But yes, I won't speak for the board, but I'm okay to approve it. The only thing I would like an official resolution from our attorney which we did not do. It was an oversight on both our parts. I apologize. We do have a meeting on Monday, and we'll move forward to approve that that evening.
I actually did just have a question for you. I have been doing some work for the building department in terms of short-term rental hunting. It's very intense, and our building department, has other sort of more pressing and specialized tasks that they focus on. So when I was looking at Airbnb and things, our specific code does not allow for a certain amount of Airbnbs owned by the same person within the same vicinity. And I noticed that your name was listed multiple times, so I wanted to understand, did we fully address that here? Because I do see something that says you have another sub-room, that there's a room that is exempt or excluded, and I wanted to clarify what that meant. Sorry.
Camille, if you could just come up to the mic, please.
Okay, hi. The sub-room, there's no sub-room. I have an there's an art studio at that address.
Oh, that's what, yeah, it says.
And Ben came and looked at it. It's not livable and never rented it. I don't live in it. It's not used for short-term. That's it.
So this is the only property that you're going to be listing and the only one?
No, it's not the only property. And the same process that I started a couple years ago with this regulations, I have two houses. So I have another house, and I made that clear before I purchased this second house. So I am applying. I'm going to the ZBA tomorrow for that, but that's two properties, and that was talked about and allowed then. But that's two properties, and only two, because I originally talked about getting a second property in another small town near here. And I love Monroe, and I wanted to stay here. So we talked about it, and that's what I have is two properties. And that one has not been approved, but it's very close.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. I had a comment, too. Your listing that you provide to the renters, you need to update your local food.
Oh, what did I forget?
Well,
Or
no, I think there are some more restaurants here in Monroe,
Okay.
and you should include them.
Sure.
Same thing with the beer and wine. We have, a brewery that would be.
That's good. I have a house guide book, too, that I give that has
Right,
plenty of
so
all this stuff
I
for
think that
everybody.
just
So I'll
needs to be
make sure.
updated. And Legoland, I didn't notice that was as a nearby attraction.
Which one?
Legoland?
Legoland, yeah.
Yeah,
Some people
so-
like that, and it's on my guest guidebook. So you have a website that shows like an Airbnb or Vrbo. You have a smaller amount of stuff you put on there, and then I have a guidebook that has everything in
It
it.
has everything on
Yeah.
it. So I
People are
don't know
always saying I
exactly
give them
what was
lots of
included in my
information.
packet versus what you have.
Yes,
But if you
yes.
could just verify that, I think
It's no problem to go back and
highlight
make
the
sure I have.
local restaurants would be good.
So,
Okay,
just as a follow-up to my question, this one says, our code says multiple permit eligibility, which is what you're seeking. So the permittee may hold no more than one short-term rental in the town for a probationary period of 36 months from the first permit issued, unless they've been a full-time resident and property owner in the town for at least.
That's right, and
3
that's what
years.
we went over, and I have
Okay.
been, my other house, I've lived here for 25 years and been a primary resident, so that was all cleared beforehand.
Okay,
So you know, Camille was instrumental in helping us with this law.
awesome, yeah. I just wasn't on the board then,
No,
so
I
I'm
made
just
sure of all
checking
this,
my
'cause This is
boxes.
important to me as a business. I
Yeah.
didn't just wing it and try to do an Airbnb.
No, I actually looked at your properties and they were beautiful, so I
Yeah.
was like, they were listed multiple times, and I had issues figuring out if the art studio was listed, or that's why I was
Yeah,
trying to
there's no
figure out
art
if it was
studio
2
listed on
homes per
Airbnb.
lot
Yeah,
and something,
no.
but I'm just doing my diligence so that I
No.
know and catch up, and I have no idea when you were here first, because I'm
That's okay.
a newbie, so thank you.
Yep. Anything else?
And
That's
that's
it.
it.
Thank
All
you,
right, thank you.
Camille.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much. Okay. Item 9.2.
Supervisor,
Oh,
do we need to
we need to-
ask the attorney to make a resolution for?
I've already asked Brian.
Okay.
Yeah, I spoke
you-
to him this
okay.
afternoon, yeah. So, no vote necessary, right? So we'll move on
Next meeting.
to
Sorry.
item 9.2, Conservation Commission.
So the Conservation Commission has been talking for quite some time about doing a repair cafe. They've done quite a bit of research into this, and Dennis is now going to tell us about what their plans are.
Okay, can you hear me?
Wait.
Yep.
Just so I can see the screen. Repair cafes, some of you may be familiar with repair cafes. There's been a lot run by local towns for some years, never in Monroe, so we're proposing that the town has a repair cafe. Next slide. This is just an event where the residents can bring their broken items to be fixed by local volunteers and specialize in various fields. I took this photograph back in December from Warwick. What you see here, they're doing knife sharpening, repairing bikes, wood repairs. They do jewelry repairs, clothing repairs, and a number, depending on the expertise they have. And different towns do different things, and depending on what volunteers we get will depend on what we do. But this is basically the deal. Next slide, please. Save people money and keep items out of landfill. If you've got a broken lamp or a broken vacuum cleaner, you can come here, get a new plug put on it for nothing, and save some money, and it doesn't have to go to the landfill. Repair cafes also help climate smart community points. That's certainly an add-on event, and also in the bigger picture in terms of conservation and my thing about conservation within the town. So I think that's a good cause. We have a proposed date of Saturday the 7th of June. I've agreed that tentatively with the Hudson Valley.
Regional Council?
Pardon?
Is it the Hudson Valley Regional Council?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Hudson. It's a Repair Cafe Hudson Valley. That's the title. I was going to say this later, but I'll say it now. It's a Repair Cafe Hudson Valley. Is in consortium of almost 70 repair cafes in the Hudson Valley, Catskill Capital Region, etc. And it's also part of the Sustainable Hudson Valley organization. So it's a well-established organization. Many local towns have these. Next slide. This is just a cut from the calendar at March. Those that are local that you go to happen to be Middletown on March the 15th, Warwick. They do one every 3 months, I think, or every 4 months. Port Jervis, which isn't too far away. So there's lots of these events locally, and I think we should be part of this. I really do. Okay, next slide. Okay, what do we need from you? Conservation Commission is proposing this, but I see this as being a town event. We'll organize it, but we're looking, first of all, to get a commitment from you that you're supportive of this event, and important, where do we hold it? Town hall here would be ideal. Here would be good, or possibly the senior center. We don't have to decide that tonight, but there's all considerations. Obviously, the facilities that we need with bathrooms, kitchen facilities, that sort of thing, so we can talk about that. Systems MCC is advertising the event, town website, Facebook, printing flyers, handouts, etc. That's going to be a big deal in getting this out to the public and getting both volunteers and also getting people to come and bring their stuff and get it repaired. Because the first time, they're not going to know. So I wouldn't mind betting for the first one we have, maybe we don't get that many, we'll see. Now Warwick, for instance, gets at least 80. When I went to in December, I think they had like 85, I think they said came in there. Any case.
When you were in Warwick, was Robert Berkowitz there?
Pardon?
Was Bob Berkowitz, was he still involved?
Don't know the name, sorry, I may have met him.
He used to live on Colony. He was one of the ones, I think, that helped found the Warwick one, and he wanted to do it over here, but then I think he moved away.
Yeah.
So
they were very helpful, and they're all prepared. They have a monthly meeting. We all help each other to do this stuff. So I think we can get this going. Assistance on the day of the event, obviously, with the facility, tables, security if we need it, anything like that. At this stage, we're not looking for any funding. If there is, it'll be minimal, and we can talk about that at another stage. But right now, I don't think that's going to be necessary. There is a memorandum of agreement which has some legal implications, liability. I think I can sign that on behalf of the Conservation Commission, but what I'd appreciate is that you, the board, might be looking at that memorandum of agreement and just checking that everything is okay there.
have a copy of that agreement?
I do have copies, yes, I have copies now, and I
Okay.
can send them, so I'll get those to you shortly.
We just have how to start a cafe. I didn't see, I did not see an MOU. I just saw the instructional guide
That's right.
attached.
I haven't sent you the MOU yet, but I can give you copies now and obviously send it through. There is they can provide insurance if necessary, but we may have that already here, so I don't know. Call for volunteers. Next slide. I have copies of this, which you all have. I'll hand out copies of this tonight. This is what can go on the website. Other documents that go on there. We need these volunteers. So this is the sort of thing we're going to want to get out around the town, different stores and shops and dealerships, and that sort of thing to help us.
Fixer, huh?
Looking for the fixers. What can you fix, Tony?
All my grandson's toys I've fixed, so.
Well, there you go. There's
Yeah.
certainly an opportunity for fixing. People do come in with toys. And
Yeah.
say, can you stick this back together again?
Yep.
Sometimes they can, and sometimes they can't with a lot of these repair items, but there you go.
I just have a few questions when you're
Certainly.
finished. I just want to make sure I'm not interrupting. I just have a few questions.
No, and I think I'm done.
So the way the Repair Cafe worked in Woodbury when I was there was really collaborative and nice. I think that there's a couple things that are institutionally important. Like, Pat, you might want to be prepared for people leaving things that we can't fix and having to dispose of them, since people might bring items that we are not able to fix and sort of get frustrated or abandon things outside. So there might be sort of items left, like if we, by the entrance, if just having some available or a small dumpster or something,
Container or something. That's a good question. I'll ask the organizers if that's something that they have to deal with on a regular basis.
And Dennis, we're not going to provide a highway guy there for that
just no, I
timeframe.
meant
I wouldn't
well,
think
if
so.
I was able to finish
Yeah, so
my
yeah, go on.
thought. So just having someone come up and make sure that all of that is cleaned up and available after the event is over. It was a large push specifically for bicycles. So you might, for our first event, be very clear about what items are and are not allowed. Certain things might be prohibited if they're beyond the scope of repair. Like, you will have people probably bringing bicycles to, here to be fixed, because that was the most common item. And the people in Woodbury, Lisa, the head of the Conservation Commission there, was really smart, where she organized several people who worked on bicycles, and then they donated them all, repaired and donated them all to the local bike shop by
That is something
yeah.
they do. Yes.
So, but there will be some things left. So we need to create a plan for cleanup
Yeah.
and a disposal method. Also, I had a question where you had mentioned when you first start up one of these events, there might not be a lot of attendance because no one is familiar with every third month in Monroe there's a repair cafe. I was wondering if you had called or gotten in contact with Kate Schmidt.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's a registry like you had shown us, right, where 1 month it might be Warwick, another month it might be Woodbury having these, and all of the same audience of people is sort of supposed to be involved, right? So we could actually get in touch with Lisa from Woodbury and get her assistance on this, because she's not holding the repair cafe at the same time, because Kate from Orange County is diligent about
And
planning
the
that.
local organizer is Susie Fromer.
Okay.
There's a lot of help available.
Dennis, I think you're capable, and
I think
I
we're
don't.
going to do
I
that.
think you did your own research,
Yeah.
and you'll be
So
fine.
I think I take your point about things that they can't repair, and that is a common occurrence. Often people bring something in and say, sorry, we can't do it.
Yeah. So I'd be happy to sit down and work out the finer details with you, because there's a lot to organize and do. So I'd be happy to be a resource for you.
Okay, so I'll give you the memorandum of agreement now. I'll also give it to you electronically. I'll come up with a draft that maybe we can put on the web page at some point. Talk
All
about.
right.
Okay,
Sounds good.
good. Thank you so
We'll
much.
talk this week, Dennis. Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis.
The
Thank you,
Supervisor,
Dennis.
I'd like to just add one thing as far as the cleanup and the disposal of items.
The microphone might fall. Could you just slide that back in?
Slide it back here. There you go. Thank you.
Thanks.
As far as cleanup and disposal of items that can say not be fixed, our next recycling event will be November 1st, which is when I think if anyone had an item, that's where they would bring it to.
I mean,
Right, but
I think if you get the word out that if you bring a large item and it can't be fixed, you have to take it home.
Right.
Yeah.
I will follow up on that, because it's a
Yeah.
good question. I'm sure they get some people who just want to dump it off, but, I see how they deal with it.
It happens, yeah. It's worth having a policy
Dennis.
or a disclaimer, so we'll talk.
Keep something that nobody can repair.
We'll set up a meeting with Lisa. She's amazing. She'll answer everything.
Thank you, Dennis. Okay. Next item, 9.3 is town law enforcement, which we have been looking into for quite a few months.
Supervisor, I just want to backtrack. We don't need a resolution for that?
Do we have
But we
No.
haven't chosen a location
Yeah.
yet.
Okay,
Yeah, so
So I think
I
once
have
we
to-
do that.
Jen's got to check the schedules
okay.
for both places, so. Good night, Camille.
Night.
Okay, Dory, I'll let you.
Yes, so we've been talking, you've heard us talking quite a bit about law enforcement in the town of Monroe. We've had conversations with civil service, we've had conversations with other departments throughout the county, we've had conversations with the police, with the sheriff's office and with the New York State Police. And we really want to move this forward, so we felt that the best thing for us to do was to enlist the services of quite possibly the most well-respected former chief of police in Orange County, chief of far too many towns to list. Tony and I have been talking to and getting the advice of Chief Alex Melchiori. So tonight, we wanted the opportunity to introduce to the board Chief Melchiori, and so that he can kind of guide us on our way to providing for law enforcement for the town of Monroe. Come on up, Chief.
Good evening, how are you?
Just make sure you talk into the mic, or else George is going to yell at us.
Okay, I'm a retired police chief from Monroe, New York, and I've also been employed by the Village of Tuxedo Park and the town of Blooming Grove as a police chief. I've been on numerous committees within the county for obvious police services and law enforcement. I still have many, many contacts, bordering agencies and other chiefs of police in Orange County. When I first came on the force, we were talking about town police department, and that's over 47 years ago. Speaking with the police chiefs in the area, there's a great need for law enforcement in this community, and I'm here to offer my services to the board and the residents. Anything they need, I would like to help out. Okay, I'm loaded with experience, and I feel you should take advantage of that.
I would love to be able to set up some kind of open workshop meeting similar to a comprehensive plan review where the public could express the current perception of law enforcement, what's lacking and what might be needed, and what level of law enforcement that they are looking to move toward, because I have been reviewing this myself, and it seems like there are many options in terms of doing an IMA with other, neighboring communities, such as the village, and providing funds to expand their services. There's even grants like the government efficiency grant that even can subsidize some of those costs. Like if we were going to hire a couple more officers with an IMA, say for the village PD, and pitch in for more equipment and squad cars. It's something like that. Or do a contract where, we still stick with the state police, but we subsidize with neighboring law enforcement more often. There's just such from that minimal net to, creating our entire force and manning it, and that would be a huge expense. So I would just love for not only us to be able to, have you answer our questions, but maybe even have you, co-host sort of like a workshop meeting where the public is invited, and almost like a think tank, and we can actually see and get those results and survey them in a, way that they get to express what they are looking for and what the needs are in this community, and then you can help us with that actual data.
Absolutely. I've been an author of many policies and procedures and guidelines for several police departments. We gained New York State accreditation in Monroe and in Blooming Grove doing so. I also write grants, and I'm always researching for equipment, and I've been doing that the past couple of weeks. I've been in contact with Orange County Emergency Services or other bordering communities for additional resources and cooperation. So it's there. As long as the board and the residents wish it, we can pursue it. And yes, I'm open to any public conversations.
So much.
Anybody else have any questions?
I think it's a great idea. Definitely have heard from residents, traffic concerns with the speeding, the lane changing, the cutting off. Even last night on School Road, my road, I'm going up the hill. It's a residential area. It's a windy, steep road. I got past.
Police services will be there. There'll be traffic, parking control, commercial vehicles, community policing. There's a method of how to file complaints against police if that's necessary, and it'll be investigated and processed. Our bordering communities are all professional police departments, and they're all accredited, so I think we should be looking in that direction first. Okay? But I'm here for any questions, anything you need, please. Don't hesitate.
Alex, there was a time where police departments were required to host I forget the name of it, but a police review panel. It was hosted here. You were involved with that, weren't you?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I'm also on I was on the Tri-County Zone 4 committees for police services. So emergencies, we handled the tactical response unit, the K-9s, the commercial vehicle. We have a lot of inter-cooperation here. And we could pass all that on to the town before they consider starting something on their own. I mean, you have a bordering police agency that's very well equipped to take this. And again, back to the community policing, and we want those police cars out in the communities properly marked. We want cooperation. You'll be getting many, many services here that the town is overdue.
I mean, we have, just from the town board perspective, a real code enforcement problem. So in a, town or city that already has a standing existing force, they can, make it the purview of the police to, go after littering. Whereas, our code enforcement is really limited in its approach right now. It's our building inspector and his team, and they're already inundated. They're not out, patrolling the streets for people throwing garbage out their windows or, not properly pulling in their garbage cans. All these, nuisance fines that, you don't realize that can be helpful for the police to intervene on.
We insist on that.
Yeah.
Quality of life issues and cleaning up the area. As we can see when we go outside, there's a lot of places that need this. The police work hand in hand with your zoning and your planning and your
Building inspector, yeah, code
building,
enforcement, yep.
And how we used to operate is that I would sit down with the planning board while they're still in the process of looking into like a new housing development or a new condominium complex, where we would address those issues, parking, street lighting, where to pick up your mail, et cetera,
Safety, yeah.
before the problems come up. So we would sit down with your board also.
That'd be great.
I'm talking we, but the police department would do that.
If you want to be there, you're welcome.
I have my finger there, but that's...
I can see the excitement on your
Yes.
face.
Okay, so whenever we need, please don't hesitate, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
And just so everyone's aware, when we redid the building in here, Councilman McGinn was the one who put together the security system in here, and Alex actually came in and helped us, and he reviewed it to make sure everything was in order. We got another set of eyes on it, so I think Alex will be very beneficial to us. Just so everyone's aware, we're going to be negotiating a contract, so there are some aspects that we're not going to be able to discuss while we're negotiating because it will compromise the negotiations. So let's all keep that in mind. Okay.
There's nothing in executive content, so if there is executive content, just make sure that's sent to, everyone.
We don't have anything for
Okay.
today.
No, just, no, you're, okay,
This is the first step
okay.
to us getting the law enforcement services that the town needs.
Item 9.4 is the 2025 East Orange Collectors Show, which is going to be hosted by the Monroe Historical Society. It will be here on Saturday, March 15th at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There'll be antique toys, old coins, antique iron hardware, model trains, bottles, glass insulators, license plates, farming items, slot cars, and a lot more. So I'm going to make a resolution approving the use of Town Hall Meeting Room for the 2025 East Orange Collectors Show, hosted by the Monroe Historical Society on March 15th, 2025, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. This event is open to the public and admission is free.
Will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool eye.
Richardson, aye.
I went to this last year.
It's pretty cool.
This is amazing. And the license plate guy,
He sits right over here.
he
Oh, my God.
takes up the entire corner, front of his table, top of his table, behind him, around the side. I'm telling you, it is a really, really cool thing to be at.
Thanks, Dory.
You're welcome.
Item 9.5 is a request from the Ladies Lakeside Auxiliary to host their annual, I guess you call it garage sale. Yeah. It's going to be September 7th, 2025. I'm sorry,
6th.
September 6th, 2025, with a rain date of September 7th, 2025. They'll provide a grill so you can sell hot dogs, burgers, chips. They do get a food permit, and we do get an insurance certificate listing us as an additional insured. They usually talk to the village police, and we place no parking signs on Reynolds Road. We do get assistance from Highway with barricades, et cetera. So I would just like to approve the date for them. I'll make a motion to approve Saturday, September 6th, with a rain date of Sunday, September 7th, for the Lakeside Ladies Auxiliary garage sale.
Pool a second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool eye.
Richardson, aye.
And
Okay.
I will get the yard sale, the garage sale permit for them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 9.6 is the approving John Dowling, current bus driver for the town of Monroe, dial-a-ride for the position of head bus driver at an annual salary of $68,000 effective February 25th, 2025. John has been pre-approved for the promotion from the Orange County Department of Human Resources. I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool eye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Item 9.7 is a resolution approving the Town of Monroe Highway Department to sell any unused sand salt mix to the Town of Warwick at a rate of $40 per ton. This arrangement ensures that excess materials are utilized efficiently while providing a beneficial resource to a neighboring town. I'll make that motion. Somebody second for discussion?
Second for discussion.
Pat, you want to just touch base on it, please?
Do you have a specific question, Mary?
Yeah, how many tons?
Um,
I saw that pile, I have no idea.
I'm going to estimate between 12 and 1,500 tons
Whoa,
is what we're going to estimate. It's the old salt barn, Mary, and
Yes,
I've been
the-
here since '22, and it was over full when I got here. So the reason why I do not use it as a highway superintendent is it's not recommended by our engineers because of the MS4 program, because all that sand goes into the catch basins, into the retention ponds, and into the gutter lines on the road. It's definitely not recommended. That's one problem with it. DEC does not recommend it for the similar reasons. Sand, if a car drives on sand 19 times, it takes the sharp edges off of it. So you get a nice 50, 55-degree day and somebody goes down the road on a motorcycle and there's sand on the road, it's possible they're going to go down because of that if they have to hit their brakes or whatever. So that's another reason why I'm against it. There's also plans to build a new highway garage, and that barn will be in the way. So I can't sell that in the middle of the summer when everybody's full. So this is a perfect time to sell it when somebody else needs it. We do not have a shortage on salt to get us through the end of the year. We have been getting salt. We are in decent shape with that, as long as Mother Nature plays nice with us.
Hope she does.
Is she playing nice for the rest of the month?
No, and this might
No?
be this might be a perfect time to go into this. I would really like to thank our highway department, not my highway department, ours, the taxpayers, the board's highway department for their hard work and dedication this winter. They have gotten beat up. I believe it was almost 3 weeks straight that they worked almost every day. And these storms.
24 days.
So these storms have not been easy storms. They've been overnighters. When everybody's sleeping, we have to go out, we take care of the roads, we come back, we stop so we're not just wasting salt on a road, and we get back on it. So you might see a little extra snow on these roads, but there's a couple different reasons. One is because we do not want to waste the salt we just put down on those in the middle of the night. We know it's imperative to have clean roads, and when the ice is coming, you try and leave a little bit of traction. But they have done an excellent job. Not just this year, every year they do it, but this year in particular, this is an old school winter with ice. It's not the same as what it's been. So, but thank them.
Thank you, Pat.
I'd
All
like to make a motion that we surplus this sand
Yes.
salt mix.
Yep. Well, I made the motion.
What, Mary
and
seconded?
Mary
I
seconded. So
Now we just
we'll
But
call the question.
also include that it's a surplus.
Yep.
So Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Oh, aye.
Good night now. Thank you.
Excuse me, no one called if there was any additional discussion. You just guys called the motion. If we're doing a surplus, were there any other requirements? Did we make sure that does this have to be shopped around?
I'm not aware at this time. I could certainly check with Brian, but I would imagine if the agreement's already been, in place, that it's proper.
Okay, because we had this issue with swan boats, so I just wanted to make sure. I'm all for it. I vote aye, but I just wanted
There
to
was
make sure.
no issue with Swan boats.
We had to put that out multiple times, the swan boats.
No issue with it.
We had to change the resolution twice, so I just
Okay.
want to make sure that we're doing it.
It
but it's
passed.
aye.
That's great.
Yeah, it did.
All right,
The
awesome.
second time.
Let's
All right.
go.
Item 9.8, resident concern on Hilltop Road. There's a lot of school bus routes up in that area on Hilltop. Pat's going to put in a request to the county, which will then go to the state and then have to be approved to drop the speed limit up there from 30 to 25, right?
I believe that has to come from the board.
Okay.
Are we
Well,
dropping speed limits
and-
here?
No, I know that. We're going to approve it, but.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, just a comment is that's another reason why we need this man right here that was standing there, Alex. We need
Yeah.
him because of the problem we're having with school buses.
Excuse me, I actually have been doing a lot of work, which I did not, this is a resident concern for a lot of individual roads, and there's an initiative called Strive for 25. I don't know if you guys have gotten those state comptroller emails, but I have been actually messaging with the surveying company that our planning board uses. I think it's AKRF, and they are, and I've been in talks with New York State DOT as well as Brian from a while back, because there were many people also emailing about Cromwell and all around Round Lake because of the school buses. I mean, we've talked about school buses many, many times over the years on this board. So there is a way where they can, we have to pass a town-wide resolution essentially, which is the easiest for our definition as a community where we cannot control our actual own speed limits because of our population. So we have to pass a resolution lowering, if this is what the board wants, our town-wide speed limit to the new allowable limit of 25, and then exempt essentially main thoroughfares that we want to keep as, 40, where we're comfortable with that because the roads can handle the
So
traffic.
why don't you get the paperwork, do a
Okay.
study on it, bring it to us, and we'll approve it,
Okay,
okay?
perfect. Thank you.
We're on the Hilltop issue. I'd like a motion that the town approve dropping Hilltop from 30 to 25.
I mean, if,
Who will second?
actually, discussion, that's my point, is that if we're doing the town-wide drop, we do not have to do it road by road.
I understand that, but we're going to do this one tonight, and then
Okay.
when you present us with your study and whatever you have, we'll...
It would be included, and the resolution, I already have it, and all we have to do is change the town name.
Okay,
So,
that's no
do you
problem.
want to just delay this until
No, I
Monday?
don't. No,
Okay.
I don't.
Can I comment,
Sure.
please? I believe if we're going to drop the speed limit in the town, the whole town, that we have to budget for that because there's not enough money in our budget to repost the whole town with 25-mile-an-hour signs.
No, it would be exempting all, like I said, the main thoroughfares that are nowhere. It would be the 30 markers that we're really looking at exactly like this. We would we would make it a townwide resolution, and it would only apply to roads that we do not.
Okay,
exempt.
listen,
So,
we have a motion, we have a second.
And
I'm
I
gonna-
called
Let's call it.
discussion,
I'm
which
gonna-
is, excuse me,
No,
point of
I
order.
I'm going
No,
to...
no, no, no,
Yes,
no,
I
no.
did. I
Claire,
seconded.
Yes,
excuse me, no,
she
no, no,
seconded.
point of order.
Call the
Excuse
question,
me,
Mary.
that's not how it works. You call discussion regardless of a second.
Maureen, just take one more minute, and then
Excuse
we
me.
can vote.
Exactly, I'm entitled to the time
Don't-
that my position has. I called discussion,
There's
point of order.
There's no set time. I'm
Will I
running...
get that
Yes,
same
there
amount of
is.
time? 'Cause
Yes,
I'm going to use
yes.
up that same
You
amount of
can.
time.
I'm
You
running-
should.
Comfortable
I'm
with that.
running the
Excuse
meeting
me.
tonight,
Point of
Councilwoman
order.
Richardson.
You have to chair according to the
Point-
rules.
I-
This
I'm-
has already been
I'm
established.
chairing according
You
to the
have
rules.
chair
Mary, call the
according to
question,
Robert's
please.
Rules
I
of
really
Order.
wish you would have one more minute, but Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
As I was saying, because I am entitled to the time outlined in both Robert's rules and our actual meeting rules, which we've adopted, and the chair cannot vary from those rules.
Item
Robert's
9
rules states that I
9.19.
can call a discussion regardless of whether I second or
All
not.
right,
And the
George-
chair has to
George,
actually
can I ask you to cut-
provide
can I ask you to
opportunity
cut her mic,
after any
George?
second
Okay,
to
so we're
those who
on
call discussion.
item
So you don't care
9.9,
about
which
the
is
town-wide
19 Elm
safety.
Street.
You don't care about lowering speed limits. We've had dozens,
It's-
if not
it's a
100
topic-
complaints.
It's a topic of discussion
But
for
you
another
won't,
evening.
you won't make a motion to put it on the agenda, and you won't
You
even
don't
let
make
me
a motion
describe
to
it for
put it
a
on the
more
agenda.
minute.
There's no
Oh,
motion
really?
to put
Because I
something
asked
on
for
the
Museum
agenda.
Village to be on the agenda tonight, and it was a very serious motion that I had to consider a memorandum of understanding, and there's nothing there. And the past 20 topics I've asked to be on the agenda have not been there. Even when I've been given permission, I've been told later on that I have no permission to speak with individuals. So it's so interesting that you have this public face and you won't even allow my legally mandated time according to the rules that we've adopted. It's
Hey, you
open
just
meetings
used your extra
laws.
minute up
It's
that
actually
Mary
not, because
requested.
this is a
All right,
called
okay.
point
Can we
of
move on,
order.
please? We
This is
still-
a
we
called
have-
point of order.
Item 9.9
And the chair has to
is the
stop and review
19
the
Elmwood
rules.
Drive water bill. Okay, so there was, I spoke to this woman, Pat, and I know that both John and I don't know if it was yourself or Angelina spoke to her. So there's a consistency in the amount of water she uses, and I guess there was an issue when the meter was changed. So after speaking with her and going through the process of, do you have any leaky toilets? Did you have any leaky pipes? Did you have any plumbing work done in the last few months? And the answer was no. And when you look at her water bill, from 1214, it was 16 units, 322, that was 1214, 23. 322, 24, it was 20 units. 625, 24 was 19. 930, 24, it was 20. And then you went to 39 units, in a month and a quarter. That's not even a 3-month period. So something was awry. I don't know if it was the meter, but the thought on my part after speaking with her was, and I do not know her, was to apply credit to her account, but it's up to the board to do so.
And Pat explained when the meter was changed, was the old meter reading slow, or we don't know?
We don't know. Generally, the old meters are the benefit of the residents pretty much because they do slow down, is what they do. So, and there's going to be a lot of discrepancies with these meters because there are some old meters that did not work properly. Well, I believe we have another one coming up too with the same situation, but we'll have to, as soon as that arises, we'll have to discuss that too.
Yeah, because when you look at, so on 11/14, from 9/30 to 11/14/24, she used 39 units. Then, I believe that's when the new meter was put in, and from 11/14 to 12/27, she used 8 units, which is on the same scale that it was beforehand.
Right.
So I have no problem if we hold off and wait till we get another meter reading.
That would be my recommendation. Let's see what the next meter reading brings
Okay.
before we act on it or put a service charge on it, whatever we're going to do.
That's fine.
Because it could be, that's a lot of water, but I'm going to tell you that if something breaks or if there's something leaking, it's possible.
I agree with waiting another billing cycle. And then if the results are still out of line, maybe we should change the meter again.
Well,
But
what I generally
at
do,
that point, we could also address the credit, but let's give it one more billing cycle.
if we notice, we have the ion water that every resident will have access to themselves on these new meters. We just have to do a blast out to the people who have the new meters that they'll be able to monitor their own water meter from their computer. We don't have to do it, but once in a while, Angelina, myself, John, we'll take a peek at the usage of these meters is what we'll do. And I have asked them to call some of these that are really sky high. We can't monitor every one of them, and let them know that their meters are reading high, that they probably have a leak in the house. Sometimes I'll send John over there just to check it. Okay, is that meter spinning? And sometimes it's a yes, sometimes it's a toilet leaking, because a toilet leaking is a lot of water. If you figure if it's 2 gallons an hour, it's a lot of water.
Yes.
It's a lot of water. So that's how we're trying to help this along a little bit. So
Place it on the agenda for March, for after the next water meeting.
and Supervisor,
Water meter reading.
in the morning, I'll have John check that meter because we can check it
Okay.
24 hours a day. We can
All right.
check that meter. So we'll be able to see how close they're getting.
All right, sounds good.
Valerie, on 9.8, I vote no.
So 9.10, the 2025 library agreement?
Yes, so
Okay.
it is that time of
I got
year
it.
again?
I'll be right back. What's
Okay.
that?
It's that time of year again.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, so we'll need a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute the 2025 agreement with the Monroe Free Library. And that agreement is before each of you in your meeting notes, providing for the library services. It includes the town payment of $1,506,325 paid to the library. The term of the agreement shall be for the 2025 fiscal year. And there are other items in here on right to inspect, successors and assignees, severability, and all of that other good legal jargon. So I make a motion that we authorize the supervisor to execute the 2025 agreement with the Monroe Free Library.
Bingham will second. And I also just wanted to say that the library had their budget on the November ballot. It passed with 4,051 yays and 3,780 no votes. So I know the library's going to put their money from this
Very good
in very
use.
good use.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, great. Call the question?
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Excellent.
Cardone, aye. Thank you. Okay, next up is the freshwater wetlands, Article 24 permitting services. So this is something new from the DEC. They introduced it this year on January 1st. We're required to obtain a 5-year wetland permit prior to any type of herbicide, algicide treatment work. The cost of this permit is $3,000, and we will be billed at an annual rate of $600 for the duration of the permit, which is 5 years. Portion of Round Lake is considered freshwater wetland. In past treatments, this area was avoided, but the new legislation requires a wetland permit regardless of the area treatment, and no treatment work can be conducted until that permit is obtained. So we need a resolution for me to sign that agreement.
So I make a motion that we authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement for the New York State DEC wetlands permit
Second.
In the amount of $3,000.
in the amount of $3,000. And Sal seconded. Call the
Question?
question.
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Next up is this is a request. We're looking to eliminate any chestnut, water chestnuts found in Round Lake, so they can be treated and controlled through the application of contact and systemic aquatic herbicides that are found in the lake at the time. And that application is at a cost of $350 per acre as needed from April through August. I had told them we would cap it at 10 acres, which I think is plenty more than is needed, but we'll see what happens when they do a survey. But we do need approval for me to sign that agreement as well.
I make a motion that we authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement with, this is Solitude again? Yes, Solitude Lake Management for the treatment of water chestnuts at an amount not to exceed $3,500.
I'll second.
Call the
Discussion? And yes, that is how it works. Crack open a book, preferably Robert's Rules of Order.
Talking about
I
something?
am, and I have 3 minutes to do it. So, have we looked into services for other lakes? Because I'm aware, that we're the lake community, so the fact that we're focused on Round Lake seems limited in our scope, and can we get a bulk discount by getting the surveys, conducted all at the same time?
From what I remember, Solitude was the only one vendor in this area who could do this type of work. I don't know if anything's changed over the years, but
But I think what Maureen is asking is can we get a better price if we're
Right.
serving Round Lake
Right.
and Walton Lake and Sapphire? And is that privately owned or is that public? It was private, so we wouldn't be able to treat Sapphire. And we wouldn't have any jurisdiction over Monbassia.
Homeowners Association
So the village
treats
is already
Sapphire.
treating Monbassia.
So it's a good point, but for tonight, we'll approve the supervisor to,
But I
Sign
would like
the-
to follow up with that.
sure. So we called the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Say, okay, so moved. Item 9.13 is a resolution for conflict counsel. So, Fair Nugent McCartney has a conflict on a case associated with the ZBA, and they have requested conflict counsel. We spoke to Norton and Torrey, who is our planning board firm. There's no issue for them, but we want the resolution so that if it does arise again, they can swap back and forth. So Dory, did you want to read the now therefore whereases?
Sure. Now therefore be it resolved, the above whereas clauses are incorporated herein as if set forth in full. The town board hereby authorizes the law firm of Naughton and Torrey to represent the town in legal matters where the law firm of Fierick, Nugent, McCartney has communicated the existence of a conflict. The town board hereby authorizes the law firm of Fierick, Nugent, and McCartney, PLLC, to represent the town in legal matters where the law firm of Naughton and Torrey has communicated the existence of a conflict. The town board hereby agrees to compensate the law firm of Naughton and Torrey pursuant to the terms of the firm's engagement letter presented to the town and dated February 12th, 2025. The town board hereby agrees to compensate the law firm of Fierick and McCartney, Fierick, Nugent, and McCartney. Sorry, I missed Brian from that one. PLLC pursuant to the same terms and conditions that the firm is currently retained by the town for legal services, except that conflict matters handled by the firm shall be included under the town's general retainer for the first 3 hours of conflict work unless otherwise agreed upon in writing. Section 6, the town supervisor and any other officer or employee as directed by the town supervisor is hereby authorized to take any and all necessary actions to carry out the provisions of this resolution. Section 7, this resolution shall be effective immediately. So I make a motion that we appoint these conflict attorney.
Second for discussion.
Sure.
Attorney Todd.
Attorney Todd.
Matt, okay. Right now, the ZBA is represented by Norton. No, the planning board is.
Yeah.
Okay, by Norton, and the ZBA is by, we're just going to say Freewick.
Yeah.
Here.
Suppose the planning board attorney, Norton, has a conflict and Freerick's comes in, and for some reason, the planning board says you now have to go to the ZBA to get a variance. Would that then cause another conflict? Because now it's going to the same firm doing the work?
Go ahead, Matt, I'm sorry.
I would really have to see, before I offer an opinion, what the conflict was, because it's very much a case-by-case analysis.
Right.
But if there was a conflict with one entity and the conflict didn't carry over to the other entity, I don't see why I don't see that there would be an issue, but it definitely would be a case-by-case analysis.
I also have a question. Anyone else want to go?
Well, my only point would be that we'd be able to appoint, should that happen, we'd be able to appoint a
Another
third
firm.
conflict attorney if it were ever to get to that point.
It would come before the board, obviously, before that case would move forward, if that were the case. But I also agree with Councilwoman Bingham that it seems completely reasonable that Naughton Torrey be the established conflict firm for your firm. However, I can imagine more scenarios where that becomes an issue, vice versa. So that is sort of my concern as well. But it sounds like for the time being, that's fine, and then we can just address it case by case. But do we want to ask formally that they take a closer look at that other way around when Fierick, Nugent, McCartney becomes their relief counsel?
right
Yeah.
after.
Because it's planning, ZBA, MUNA, all these things in one.
I've seen applicants come before the planning board, and they say, well, if you want to do this, we find now you need a variance. And they do end up going to the ZBA, and that's my only concern.
For attorneys, the issue of conflicts is one that's is always in the attorney's mind. It's an ongoing process. So in general, if there was no conflict, I don't see an issue. I don't see an issue arising. But if there was a conflict, that would be an issue that would be brought before the board, and that would be something that both
Right.
firms would be would be looking out for continuously.
It would just delay the applicant X number of weeks until we had
Until
a town
we-
board meeting.
Right.
Okay,
This particular resolution is for a specific incident. so-
Right.
Or issue.
and
so-
this is the first time I've seen it come up
Yeah.
in all these years, so.
Yep.
It's based on a specific incident, but it's going to establish a regular procedure moving forward.
Which is why
Yeah.
we have this authorization. So,
Yeah.
call the question.
Okay, Bingham, aye?
Stankarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Item 9.14, Dory, you're going to have to handle it because I have to sign the proposal.
Righty. We have a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the proposal submitted by Alpha Geoscience for the well evaluation at the site of Pilati Village with an authorization of an initial budget of $5,000. So I make a motion that we authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract with Alpha Geoscience.
Second for discussion.
Sure.
I'd like to know where the funds to pay for this are coming from.
Our engineering line.
So it's a townwide charge.
Yeah. B fund.
But some of the water districts would not benefit from this at all. Like 14 has wells, 2 has wells.
It's not coming out of your district. It's coming out of you're looking at District 8 and District 10, which would probably benefit from this. But we have to do a test in order for them to benefit it. So where would you like it to come from?
Those water districts
Those-
that would
Those two
benefit.
water districts, if they're the ones that are going to benefit.
And any-
If for some reason
Yeah.
those wells show like mass production and it could take on other areas of the town that are currently not serviced by water districts, then maybe an entire charge or set up a new water district. But since there's only 2 districts that could benefit from this, I think those 2 districts.
No, it's not only 2 districts, but those are the initial 2.
That's what
I
then those-
understand,
then-
Councilwoman Bingham, I understand what you're saying. What I'd like to do is get this signed, and then we will work out the particulars so that your water district and any other water districts don't get charged regarding that.
Okay.
But that just means you can't use any of that water either.
Hey, we've
Never,
got
ever,
wells,
ever.
so
I also
hopefully-
have a question related to that or a point to make, but I agree with her completely. The only way I can see this is that if you're looking to expand into other districts, or are you looking to test this well, and then what are the details of the, expected expansion? How many, customers and how many other districts are you looking to expand this source to?
Well, we won't know that until after we do the testing of the wells. It would be like us trying to figure out every single conflict that could ever arise out of switching law firms. I mean, it would just be
Either the water is contaminated or not, and you obviously have a goal to expand to other services, so.
Right, so
You're paying
let's-
$5,000 without even knowing what your goal is?
Our goal is to test the wells to see whether or not there is a benefit to other parts of the town. We
Right,
can't
since
make
this is-
any of those decisions without testing the wells, so let's test the wells.
Right, since this is the initial, I'm saying, okay, we'll figure out the finances, and then as we understand exactly how many gallons can be produced, then we could address the next
Fine-tune that and the cost
installment.
and where that's coming
Okay,
from. Yep,
that's understandable, thank you.
all right, call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Second.
We did, Mary seconded it.
Okay.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Next up, item 915 is Monroe Commons Landscape Plan. We have the landscape architect, Steve Esposito here, representing Monroe Commons. Good evening, Steve. Just got to speak close to that mic. There you go.
Good evening. Steve Esposito, Engineering Properties here for Monroe Commons. Registered landscape architect in the state of New York, been practicing for close to 40 years. Know the county very well. And we're here tonight to talk a little bit about Article 20, which is tree protection law, and how that relates to the proposed landscape plan that's been approved. by the planning board, conditionally approved by the planning board, and also approved by your landscape contractors. Which is okay. Let me just, for a little bit, just for real quick, I'd like to just touch base on Article 20. And talk a little bit about the legislative intent of that provision of your code. There are a number of items that make up the article. It's for the preservation of trees to the greatest extent practical. Excuse me. Also to encourage the protection and maintenance of existing trees, provide trees along roads and new roads and parking lots to screen and to blend into the surrounding landscapes. To encourage proper protection and maintenance of trees, establish tree species that are compatible with the region and in light of potential climate changes, and then also to promote green infrastructure. Our plan does all of that. And I'll get into the details of it a little bit, but just in terms, I'd like to touch on the green infrastructure. We are proposing solar, EV chargers. Our stormwater integrates green infrastructure in terms of infiltration. We're also using runoff water for irrigation purposes. So we really are employing significant green infrastructure to the project, in addition to a robust landscape plan.
Just for clarity for the board, this plan has already been approved by the planning board?
Yes, it's been conditionally approved by the planning board,
Okay.
and we're this close to getting it signed,
Okay.
as well as signed off on you have a landscape architect that reviews our work as well, and she's signed off on it, as well as your consulting engineer. So just, if I could, so basically this is the structure that's being proposed. It's a multi-use structure. I kind of say there's kind of like 4 pieces to this, 5 pieces to this. This area, which is really the development, that's a very urban development. Buildings, parking. We've also integrated the stormwater management in that. These dark spots are what they call infiltration galleries that is going to be underneath the parking lot. Our solar and EV chargers down here. And this is what I call an urban area, and we'll see as we go along on the various sheets. We also have what I consider a passive recreation area, which is along the eastern part of the site, or southeast portion of the site. We're proposing meadows, which are seeded with wildflowers that are going to promote wildlife and pollinators. We also have an existing wetlands that we are enhancing and expanding as well with plantings and seeding. We also have aquatic features that are going to be part of the stormwater, which also includes seed mixes. We have over a total of 6 different seed types. As part of this process, we had to do a tree survey for the entire site. Then we had to analyze what trees would be removed and what we're proposing. And I guess I'm here tonight just to request that this board consider the robustness of this plan in light of all the other pieces of the plan that I referred to earlier in terms of green infrastructure. There's more to creating and maintaining a viable and landscape more than just planting trees. And I think what we're doing is with tree planting, planting of the shrubs, which are flowering, fruit producing, for habitat, and enhancement, as well as the 6 seeding mixes that also will help, promote for pollinators and insects and wildlife as well. So just we'd like to consider this as in a whole as opposed to just counting trees. I guess you could, if you want to just flip, and I'll just run through the plans real quick, and then I'll get to the numbers of the plans of the removal. So these are just blown up areas of the plan that we were just looking at. This is the passive recreation area, which consists of a water feature, sitting areas, a pavilion. The orange area is one of the seed mixes. That's a wildflower mix, which is going to be our meadow. This is integrated into the plan. This is sort of an urban feature, which is a courtyard for outside use. This is the main entrance. Excuse me, that's the main entrance there. And then this is one of the planting aisles in the back, which is going to be the main entrance to the hotel. So the numbers, we identified on site 1,966 trees. Of those, we estimate that there's 241 of those are dead, which we will have to, show, work with the planning board and its consultants to confirm that. Of the existing trees, we're going to remove 1,725 trees, of the living trees. We're proposing to plant 197 shade trees, 104 evergreen trees, and 284 trees in what I call the wetland mitigation area, for a total of 585 trees. We're also planting a number of, throughout the site, both in the wetlands, in the meadows, and in the urban areas, a number of shrubs, which total 1,296 shrubs. And again, those plantings also provide value for the habitat, fruit bearing and flowering in terms of aesthetics as well. If you could just go to the next slide. And this is the wetland area so along the perimeter, this is going to get reseeded and replanted. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see the plantings. And then that's 285 trees around the perimeter of the existing wetlands. The trees within the wetlands will remain, and then the perimeters get seeded with.
How tall are those trees?
Well, they range. There's a variety. They go from small to large. The original, the shade trees, those are going to be 3.5 to 4 inch caliber. So they're going to be anywhere from 16 to 20 feet tall. These trees in the wetland mitigation area are going to be smaller, because when we go to reforestation, we don't really like to use larger trees. We like to use smaller trees. They'll ultimately compete with themselves, and they work it out, and reestablish, the woodland. And I think
The key does contain, it corresponds, all these colors correspond to the key, and then you can look up the botanical name and find the predicted height for each species.
So if you go back to the
Unfortunately,
first sheet, we
the
can
minimum
run through those if
size,
you want.
it's listed as height for the minimum size that you're required to plant it right now. It doesn't say how tall it's going to get, it just says how tall it has to be currently, 14 to 16.
Yeah, so this is really, I'll say the schedule for what I'll call the urban area, which is around the main development. And you'll see that these trees are going to be 3 to 3.5 inch caliber. And those are all tall trees. The evergreen trees are 7 to 8 foot, or 6 to 7 feet at planting height.
What would the mature height be?
Yeah, you'd have to look it
depends
up.
on,
Yeah.
Well, like you said, the evergreen, that would be 30
key-
feet, 40 feet?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you'll know these trees. So red maple, we know what red maples are, right? They get very big. October glory is another red maple. And then the smaller trees and flowering trees, we have two different types of dogwoods. We have a hawthorn, which is indigenous tree. That's like a medium-sized tree. That's 30 to 40 feet tall. Cottonwoods, and they're going to get 60 feet tall, 70 feet tall. The locust, also 60 to 70 feet tall. Hornbeam is going to be the medium tree. That's 45 feet. Paper birch, that's a multi-stem tree. That's 35, 40 feet ultimately. And then we have some cherries that are going to be, and smaller trees are going to be your 30-foot tall trees. And then we have pin oaks and red oaks, which get 100 feet tall. The evergreens, same thing. The species of evergreen will ultimately get a bunch of, we have several different dogwoods. The evergreens are going to be, so we have red cedars. So they're going to be, they're 30 to 40 foot tree. Spruce, they're going to get, the spruce will get tall. They're slow growing, but they get tall. They're going to get 50 to 60 feet tall. The giant arborvitaes. They're going to be 40 to 50 feet tall.
All right, well, I think we get the, we get the gist of it.
There's a variety of
Has-
heights.
Has this been presented to the Conservation Commission? No. What's that?
Yeah, it is part of
To-
the
to-
process.
Tonight, you want to comment? Okay, yeah, sure. When Steve's done, yeah.
So, one of the things that, again, we think it's a robust plan. We think it's in accordance with the objectives and the legislative intent of the tree protection plan, more than just planting trees. Like I said, we're in green infrastructure. The variety of planting species and materials that we're proposing to diversify the landscape and to blend back into the natural landscape, we think really meets the intent of the law. And we're just asking this board to, just the plantings alone, mulch, trees, shrubs, seeding, is well over $1 million. That doesn't include the cost of the green infrastructure, which is also extremely, expensive, or any of the topsoiling, seeding, or hardscapes. So just plantings alone, you're plus $1 million. So that's it. And our thoughts were look at the value of the different pieces of the landscape plan, the green infrastructure. We think that should be looked at in terms of a value. The seeding mixes. We have 6 different seeding mixes for biodiversity and diversity of the site. That brings we think that brings an environmental value to the plantings. And then the 1,200 shrubs that will be flowering for pollinators, fruit bearing for wildlife. So I think in terms of a landscape, they all bring something to the table. And again, we're just for the applicant, we're asking this board to consider those.
I would like the plans to be formally referred to the Conservation Commission because in my review of our code, just to understand their full role, they are supposed to have the purview and work in tandem with the planning board. When the planning board signs off, their right is to review the tree plan and ensure that native species and other things were fully complied with. Like if they want to swap out one of those species with a more native version, that's what their rights are. So I would like it to be referred to them.
I wasn't involved with all of the planning process, but I can assure you that it's been going on for several years. I know there's several consultants that have reviewed it and that we've corresponded with. I'm not sure whether the Conservation Committee has received the plans. Typically,
they have not.
Typically, they do.
The chairman is
Dennis,
here.
Dennis,
Yeah.
why,
So-
if you don't mind, I just want Dennis to,
Sure.
comment. Come on up, Dennis.
The Conservation Commission has not recently reviewed these plans. I believe back in the days of Ward Brower, there was an opportunity there to look at the existing site and the impacts on it. But we currently have not been given the opportunity, in fact we haven't asked, to be fair, to review the planting plan. Frankly, what I see right now, it looks pretty good. Right? We've only had a cursory look. I see there's been a lot of effort done on the plantings, on the trees, on the landscaping. I'm sure there are other comments we could make. But the bottom line is a tree code. We have an existing tree code, and we have a new tree code, which is about trees. They're taking out 1,725 live trees. They're replacing 585 with good trees. But that leaves 1,296, which both the existing law and the new law, if you can't plant them on the site or somewhere else, you have to pay an in lieu cost. Okay? Nowhere in the existing tree law or the new tree law does it give you the opportunity to replace those trees with shrubs. They have to be minimum 6 inches. The plantings are a minimum 2.5 inch. Trees, which should be trees, native trees preferably, can be some ornamental trees, but trees, not shrubs.
I think we need to examine that native, I think what he's asking really is that, aren't you planting like over 1,000 shrubs?
There's
Yes.
1,296 shrubs.
And if a sizable portion of those are native, I believe we should calculate or examine the 1-to-1 ratio, the ratio of shrub to tree. Three shrubs is one tree. We need to, because,
All I'm saying
yeah.
is, if you agree to this under the existing tree law and the new tree law, you're setting a precedent for allowing other things other than trees to be replaced.
I think that should be a standard established in the new tree law. I think you had brought that up at a prior meeting, that we have not addressed native shrubbery. I did not understand that it could be used for the purposes of calculating, one tree removed is equal to 3 native shrubs or what have you.
That's the new tree law, where a certain
Yeah.
size tree has to be replaced
I
by
think-
so many size
Yes.
ceiling trees.
The
That is true.
conversation becomes easier when you're talking about replacement. At that time, we were talking about what if a homeowner removes native shrubs, and that was way outside of our purview to keep track of, and not, this is a tree code. But for the purposes of landscaping, I believe that is something that should be in the new tree code, because native shrubs do fulfill carbon sink at a certain size. They do
certainly
fulfill
do,
the
and
same
I think
capacity.
what's proposed here is very creditable. But the fact is, they're not going to be trees. They're not going to provide the canopy that the existing trees do now. So you're going to lose a lot of that sink that's there now. So this is why we have a tree law.
I believe when we spoke with Bonnie, she was not in favor of replacing shrubs,
Correct.
right?
So I think you just need to take this into account. And as I say, it's okay, but if you agree to it, then you're going against your existing tree law and your new proposed tree law.
So I have a question then, and this, I don't know who can answer this question. I don't know if Steve can answer this question. Were the number of shrubs that you're planting, did that have an impact on the fee that had to be paid in terms of replacing the trees that were cut down that were not replanted?
The in lieu of?
Yes.
No, they were not,
Yes.
they were not
No.
included or considered as.
So the shrubs were not included?
The-
Okay, so
yeah,
then,
it's for
so
the-
then
you
this isn't necessarily an issue. So you've taken down X number of trees.
Correct.
You've replanted Y number of trees, and then you've paid a Z fine, right? So that Z plus Y equals X, essentially.
His whole point is he's asking us to consider
Right.
the
If you-
plantings of the shrubs, because it's such an extensive landscaping plan.
Why don't you let him say that?
He did.
Well, let me just, and I think I need to go back to Article 20 again. And if you look at the objectives on there, and, again, in addition to just planting trees, and believe me, I've been doing this for a long time, so I'm all about planting trees. But, there's other, in other words, if you look at this woodland, if you go look at the site, there's really no diversity here. There's a lot of dead trees. Not that they're bad either. There's also good for the environment and for wildlife. But there's no real diversity, I think. So what we're doing is in a means to mitigate, the impacts of the overall project, which has been conditionally approved. We're preparing a robust plan that hits more than just planting trees. We've got the meadow habitat, passive recreation for people, are also, kind of important. The enhancement and diversity of the existing wetlands. The existing wetlands is not a diverse landscape, or not diverse wetlands. We're proposing to add to the diversity of that. Green infrastructure. That's a very big and costly feature in these plans. And again, we're just saying that if you're looking for, to protect the environment for the future, from my perspective, it's more than just planting trees. It's creating an environment that, reaches all levels, if you think of it that way. There's no understory in this woodland. Very little ground cover that's of any habitat suitability in this landscape, existing landscape. But there's trees, and we're just saying we think this robust plan, hits a lot of good things.
You're saying the diversity, whether it's bee pollen or better habitat for the wetlands for whatever animals may live there, you're saying there should be a compensation?
Yes. I think if you really, step out a little bit of the box of just replacing trees and look at replacing or restoring landscapes, I mean, then that's where, I think, in my mind, that's where the value is.
Basically, you're on a really good biodiversity coming before ask that consider that our right now, as she said, you took away X number of trees and you're replacing them with Y number of trees, but we're not considering any of the other, natural landscaping like the native wildflowers and everything like the shrubs, which are crucial to the environment. As you said, it's called an understory. If it's the wrong understory, like those bramble bushes, I know that, hawks can't get in to kill mice, things like that. So if you're creating a properly calibrated understory, it facilitates, bunnies and everything, and a habitat for all of these native species to live that are beneficial for that ecosystem. So they're just asking us to create a system where we consider the properly calibrated biodiverse landscaping plan rather than an oversimplified one-to-one tree code and then fine you when you've put in and the developer has actually put in way more than we require.
Correct.
I would even like to see a mock-up of what was the bare minimum that we as a town require you to do and how much above and beyond you've gone, because this is very extensive. This is a very extensive landscaping plan.
Is there a way you can get copies of this to our office tomorrow so that the Conservation Commission could take a review of it?
Yeah, we can email them, or we can hard copy them, whatever.
But how do you want them, Dennis?
I think that step has been overlooked by accident. Yeah.
And I could, just one more thing is, one of the other objectives of Article 20 is the maintenance of existing and proposed trees. As part of this plan, we're also monitoring the wetlands for success and diversity. For an extended period of time, we're obligated to go in and if we're not getting the germination of the seed mix that we anticipated getting, we're going to have to reseed. We're also committing to a invasive species monitoring program for the entire site. Not the entire site, but everything around the perimeter in our meadows. And we're actually going to go inside the woodland. I forget the number, I think it's like 25 or 30 feet to look at and remove any invasive species, because one of the biggest things, because in order to maintain this and actually achieve the success that we want to achieve for this plan is we've got to commit to those programs. And, invasive species is a major problem in the Hudson Valley. So, and that, again, that's just another notch in the belt here that this plan proposes that not every plan will propose. So again, we think that, there's value to that as well.
Getting back to that value, we have these tree codes because we understand that there is a job that trees do in the environment, right? So if you were to take a look at the shrubs that you're suggesting to be planted to help with this understory, and what ratio of the work that a tree would do would these shrubs do?
Yeah, that's what we have to figure out. If you want to weigh in on it.
I can't figure that out.
I think that's a job for the
I'm asking
Conservation
Steve.
Commission. But
So Steve, if you could help us understand what portion of the work that a tree would do, had you planted a tree for each of those shrubs, what portion of the work that a tree would do are these shrubs doing? And furthermore, are there shrubs that do a better job of the work of a tree than others? So are there more beneficial shrubs separate from just the brambles that make it, protect rodents?
Yes, there are, and we are implementing some of those in terms of food source, in terms of being drought resistant, disease resistant, native species. So.
Would you, in any of these studies or in any of this information, would you be able to help us understand what the ratio of
Yeah,
of
I
a
can,
shrub to a tree
we have
would
a
be.
project biologist. I can reach out to him and have this discussion with him and see if we can come back with some sort of
That would be very, If you could-
measurable
Have
data.
him email
that would be very helpful, thank you.
his opinion
That's
about.
that's a great piece of information that I would love to have. And then also an understanding of native shrubs that could potentially be considered for something like this, as well as shrubs that would not be advantageous to something like this. Because obviously, to the point of Dennis and, you know, Bonnie wasn't in favor of replacing trees with shrubs, but understanding that if there is a scenario in which a shrub, which I'm assuming is cheaper, right? If there is a scenario in which a shrub can do the work of a tree, that we make sure that it's the right shrubs and the right quantity of shrubs in the right places. So that would be very helpful. About how much time do you think you would need to get that information?
Just wanted to see if he was paying attention. Probably we can work on trying to get something back to the board in a week or so.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah, if he could
That would be
email
fantastic.
Can that include how many leaves are on each tree?
Count each
Just a
one of
thought.
them.
And the rate of decomposition?
How many squirrels it feeds?
So if you want to do one for your specific landscape plan, I think that would make more sense, because our real issue is I don't think we're going to do you can replace any tree with X number of shrubs. I think that we need to be considering them in the context of landscape plans specifically, because as you said, it's an ecosystem. Like, I don't want to just see a field full of shrubs that nobody cared about. You've designed this for many years, and it goes in tandem with X number of trees. It's an entire thing that you've really designed. It's a whole habitat. So if you said he was a biologist, if he could just email us specifics about the landscape plan that he has helped design in that context, that'd be very helpful. Sure. But if he wants to weigh in on our general query of how many, shrubs is a tree, which is a kind of complex question, but that'd be helpful as well.
Well, also, too, like I always think of oak trees make the acorns, and the deer will eat them and the squirrels will eat them. Again, will the shrubs provide food for whether it's a rabbit or a deer? If that biologist person on your staff could also kind of address that as well.
Right. Well, so in some key areas of in the wetlands. We specify certain wetland shrubs that we know that will survive in that condition. We know that they provide a certain type of habitat, and that they're indigenous, to our region. So that's like one area. So we have like a group of shrubs that do that. We have a group of shrubs that may be in called the urban area, that may be a little more aesthetic. That will still flower and still provide.
And they'll still be eaten by the deer.
Right, and eaten by, well, that's why we're putting them in there, so they don't get eaten by the deer. But they'll still be there for the bees. So.
Okay. So for next week, hopefully, we can have this put on the agenda again. Dennis?
Yeah, March 3rd.
Okay.
I beg to differ with the numbers.
Dennis, just
Into the
speak into the mic,
Sorry,
please.
yeah.
Bye,
I
Tom.
beg to differ with the numbers. We have, there's 585 trees being replaced, new trees, and 1,296 shrubs. If you do the numbers, they basically add up to the total number of trees that are being removed. So
There'll still be a fine. There can still be a fine. They're just asking.
Right now, there's no fine. If you go along with this and agree to shrubs, like what is it? What are some of these? Asters and cedars being the replacement for a tree. I don't care how good they are. And they are good. They're all wonderful things. But you're not replacing them with trees.
No one said it's a sum zero. We want to
I know
figure
that.
out, what would be the fine. We want to be considering this because, again, what is the bare minimum that we actually require for landscaping, and how much above and beyond did these people go? And it is an entire ecosystem that they're managing afterward. So it's not a sum zero where it's equivalent.
I know it's not. I
and
don't doubt
that's
they're
what we
doing
need to figure
everything
out.
they possibly can. I think it's a wonderful plan. But there's no way you're going to replace all the existing trees with new trees, right? You can't do that. So you have to resort to landscaping and the like. But landscaping, as it stands at the moment with their tree codes, Still has to be done, and that's required by the planning board. There's other sections in the codes that require landscaping. But you're just going against the code, that's all. The code talks
We're
about
in the middle of
trees.
designing
And you're going
a
to have
new
to
code.
alter those codes if you agree to this, because you're setting a precedent here that if you go along with this, then everybody else who comes along later on says, well, I don't need to put in new trees, I can put in half a dozen rhododendrons or something.
I agree with you,
Dennis,
Dennis.
listen, you've worked on this harder than anybody, and I see the passion you have for it, and we'll address it, and I would like you to take a look at this plan so that we're all in agreement on what the right thing is to
There's
do.
no replacement for a tree. We all know.
That's the bottom,
We need
that's the
them.
bottom line. yeah.
And we'll take more time to think about it. We're not making a decision
And
tonight.
it may mean that you want to address this in your new tree code to allow
think
shrubs
so.
to do certain things.
Yes.
Wait a
But
minute,
that's
wait a
not
minute,
the
wait a
way-
minute.
Oh,
wait,
my
whoa, whoa, whoa,
goodness.
whoa. We're not going on another 4 years.
Oh, my. I want to
All right.
approve this.
Then the applicants will just come
You
back before
realize
the
you can
town board.
actually approve it as is and then open a new public hearing to amend.
I know.
Right. That's
I
why
actually
said they'll come
assisted
back.
Cornwall with the
Okay,
same
thank you,
issue.
Dennis. Anybody have
And
any
Mr.
more
Esposito?
questions?
No.
I don't.
All right, thank you,
Thanks,
Steve.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
You can speak at during public comment. If you have a question for him, you could ask him, but we can't address it until public comment. All right. Okay, so we're going to place this on the agenda on March 3rd
Yes.
and move forward. The only other thing is, so Brian sent me the PISA, which is the Public Improvement Security Agreement for this project. He feels, he's read it, he feels it's a right to pass the resolution. It's 120 pages. I read about 60 of them since it came in today. I will forward it to everybody. I didn't expect it to get approved tonight, but would everybody want to read it and wait, or
Yeah.
on the advice of council? Okay, so I will forward it to everybody so you have a copy.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so next up is dial-a-ride drug and alcohol plan. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thanks,
Yep,
guys.
thank you. Dial-a-ride drug and alcohol plan, it's an updated plan from the county, and basically, we would be adopting this policy with the 2025 revisions. Ed was fine with it. I spoke to Ed, so I'll make a motion to approve it. Well, actually, yeah, make a motion to approve it. Ed will sign it, I believe. He signs this. Department head, yeah. Yep.
Okay, I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next up is approve the electronic recycling shredding event to take place on Saturday, November 1, 2025 at Town of Monroe Highway Garage located at 87 Mine Road between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. Approve quotes from Upcycle and ProShred. So Upcycle's $750, ProShred is $1,200. I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, 9.18, I'm going to make a motion, be it resolved, Town Board of Town of Monroe made a motion for the Town Clerk, Valerie Bitzer, to attend the New York State Town Clerks Association Conference in Syracuse from April 27th through April 29th, 2025. Cost of registration and meals is $4.95, hotel overnight accommodations is $4.89, totaling $984. It's 206 miles each way. I'll make a motion to approve of the not spending more than $1,050.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Okay. So moved. You're welcome, Madam Clerk. Return to escrow for Yoel Gross. Mr. Gross has moved away from 14 Raywood Drive, and he does not need to appear before the ZBA. The project never appeared, so there were no funds used from the initial $2,500 escrow amount. I'll make a motion approving the resolution, approving the return of $2,500.
Pool, second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool eye.
Richardson, aye.
Item 9.20, another return of escrow for Chris Robinson. His variance has been granted. All fees are paid related to the account. So I'll make a motion authorizing the return of the escrow balance of $621.33.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool eye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, next up is the return of escrow for Remy Berdietz. He received his variance and all fees associated with the account have been paid. Resolution authorizing the return of escrow balance in the amount of $649.87. I'll make the motion.
Pool will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool eye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Item 9.22 is music for the Humanity Gaming application. Dory, will you? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Music for Humanity runs a raffle each year. It runs pretty much throughout the year. They're at all the street fairs. And the money for this raffle goes to music scholarships for high school students in our area throughout the county, actually throughout the Hudson Valley. And we have actually had quite a few high school students from Orange County receive these scholarships. So I'm very much in favor of allowing them the gaming license so that they can host this raffle within the town of Monroe.
Motion?
I make a motion that we approve the gaming license for Music for Humanity for the town of Monroe.
I'll second that. It was really enjoyable to listen to him. He actually played a couple songs for State Senator Skoufis that I got to witness, so that was really nice. And I actually met a couple students, and he wants us to refer actually a couple of his scholarship opportunities to Monroe Woodbury, the music department, because he says that they haven't applied, but other school districts in the region have. So Barry's a good guy.
We know one of the recipients, Matt Mulhare.
Yes, all right, you're right, yeah.
Yep.
Prior recipient.
Yep.
Okay,
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
what's that?
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool eye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Item 10.1, Board of Ethics appointments. You have two applicants in front of you, multiple people, interviewed them, and I'm going to make a motion to appoint Christine O'Toole to the, of the slot, I'm sorry. Christine O'Toole to the Board of Ethics vacancy. I'll have to adjust the two slots, but I apologize. I thought it was on the agenda.
I can go look at that if you'd like.
Could you? I need the two that were vacated, Egan and Fallon.
Do you remember your slot? Oh, you don't know your number?
Zone
You were
change
there for 9 years, come on.
For Lock and
Just for moving forward to the next item, that's been adjourned. The zone change for Larkin has been adjourned till March 17th. Right. Sorry, March 24th.
Talk about the townwide speed limit thing now.
So that would be slot number 2 and slot number 8, both with a term to expire 12/31/2027.
Okay. I'll make a motion to appoint Christine O'Toole to slot number 2 with a expiration date at a term of 12/31/2027. Okay.
I'll second that.
Question?
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye. Dory will
Yeah,
vote
Richardson, aye.
since she gets back. Next up is Jennifer Gillette. I'll make a motion to approve Jennifer, slot number 7.
8.
I'm sorry, 8, with a term to expire 12/31/2027. Call the question.
Hingham, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. I'm sure Dory would say aye to both of those, but wait till she comes back, Val. Public comment? Anybody sign up for public comment?
Ann Burke. Just a reminder, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Dan Burke, elder statesman, Rye Hill Road, Village of Monroe, Town of Monroe. I was over at the Orange County Legislature today. The committee meeting on the Orange County Sewer District Number 1 took place today, and the good news is that the desperately needed upgrade of the Harriman Treatment Plant is moving steadily forward. The cost per household might come to $1,062 per year, but the same engineering company that is putting this together has got applications in for 4 different grants, which probably reduce it quite a bit. And I took some comfort that the chairman of the county legislature attends these committee meetings, and so does our town supervisor. On another front, I guess everybody remembers that the town owns the Monroe Theater, which at one time we fondly called the Town of Monroe Arts and Civic Center. But they're doing a great job. They're showing good movies on 6 screens and attracting people to the village. So that's definitely a plus. But the contract that was signed in 2018 allows for 6 events a year that the town can use the theater for. And I saw we're having veterans movies. I'm wondering if that's one of the 6 events. And I'm wondering, in 2025, are we going to do 6 events? And then I'm also wondering, are we getting any cash flow from the theater? I know that they have to make a financial report. I think it's quarterly, so probably April 15th. And I'm wondering if they're bringing in enough money to compensate the town, and if that kind of financial report could be either put on the website or made as an announcement at a town board meeting. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
That's that's all that's signed up.
I have a response to that.
Yes, sure. Just state your name.
Yeah, hi, I'm Joellen Fordham. I just want to make a comment about and just listening to the gentleman that proposed about with all the landscaping and stuff. The Conservation Commission, as a town resident, says it all. It's conserving trees. It's not, and it's not necessarily how the whole thing looks. About why don't we just instead of doing the shrub, why don't we just plant geranium bushes? I mean, a tree is a tree. And I have to believe, and I think it was alluded to, that a shrub is a lot less expensive than a tree. They're taking a lot of trees out, just a comment. And so that has to be looked at. Let's not people get away with the easiest path because it's cheaper and it looks good. Lavender bushes look great too, but they're not trees. So that's just my comment.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Joellen.
Donna, did you also want to make a public comment? I know you didn't sign up, but if we're letting other people speak, does anyone else want to speak from the audience? Anybody? Bueller? No? Okay. Do you want to go down the line to respond?
Go ahead.
No, I mean, does Mary want to go? Okay. So we got the question, are we going to do more events at the movie theater? The town board recently reviewed as well, just as a whole, the movie theater situation. The veterans events have been a great thing for the community, and we hope to do more like that. We are actually looking at potentially, renegotiating the contract with the movie theater to put in more formal terms and taking advantage of the services that they have to offer, because unfortunately they are not meeting the threshold where we receive financial, restitution. And unfortunately, we're paying rent, we're paying tax, and we're doing all of those things. And we are not getting any money at all right now from the movie theater, so that is something we have to look at. I had hoped to do an event for Museum Village with a memorandum of understanding, that perhaps a film festival held to raise money for them who are also struggling due to COVID, host their display there, host unseen artifacts that, and also play some fun movies like A Night at the Museum. So we're looking into all sorts of community events to take advantage of the current contract that we have, but also perhaps expand and have them pay us in other ways, because they're really financially struggling after COVID. And again, I want to reiterate that the Conservation Commission absolutely should be involved in any tree plan, any landscape plan. A shrub is not a tree. Geranium bush is not a shrub. A native shrub is a very important part of the ecosystem. So having a formal education in biology and biodiversity is extremely important. That's why we appoint people like Dennis who are extremely passionate about trees. And we can sit here and argue, I think, until the cows come home about how many shrubs are a tree, and this is what it looks like behind the scenes. It's just passionate people being passionate, and it's something that we have to outline in the law, and I have to assure everyone that there is a calculable, measurable impact that each plant and each species has, and it's been examined by the DEC and many environmental agencies out there. So it's our job as a board not to just put only trees on a property and say, that's it, it's done, wash our hands. We have to sustain an entire ecosystem, and we have to look at how much work those people are doing and paying above what we actually require and facilitating that and maintaining that. So should they be penalized if they're creating an entire landscaping plan that actually improves that area? And again, it's not a sum zero. So there probably will still be a fine. Thank you.
I'm good. It's 9:15.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I'll make a motion to adjourn at 9:14. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Cool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.